Masks off. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And this is our first ever Lake George Historical Association online lecture series. We're here tonight. We're going to be joined by the first in a line of guests for the summer. And I think you'll enjoy it for two reasons. Number one, it's blistering hot out there. And the museum isn't air conditioned. So what you're going to find is you're much more comfortable sitting there at home and watching what we're doing here. And also, the other reason is you don't have to wear a mask. And if we had to do this at the museum, we'd have to all be masked. And so that's not good. So at the end of this session, there'll be a Q&A. If you're watching live on Facebook, I'll give some time for people to get that notification that comes up saying you're live on Facebook or that we're showing a video. And there's a chat and you can ask some questions. I should be able to see it here on our stream. If you're watching live on our website, you'll also be able to participate in the chat. And I'll share the link in the video a little bit later. And we'll ask Sarah some questions. So why don't I get right to introducing our first speaker of our first online lecture series ever. Let's welcome Sarah Hoffman. She's the Communications and Outreach Manager for the Lake George Land Conservancy. That's a nonprofit land trust based out of Bolton Landing. She's here to talk about a number of issues and a number of exciting developments with Lake George Land Conservancy, including the Hike-a-thon, how it's gone virtual, sharing the purpose of that and the mission, and how it's changed, including how it's changed recently with the new social distancing and COVID-19 pandemic. So let's introduce her right now. Sarah, welcome. You'll be on.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, welcome. I see that you look fresh and comfortable and cool as well.
Yes, definitely. More so with the air conditioner on. It's a big help.
Yeah. That's great. I'm going to remove the text at the bottom. Thank you very much. One of my viewers, one of our viewers mentioned that. There we go. That's a lot more calm, isn't it? And thank you very much for suggesting that and noticing it. I probably would have noticed it after a while, but not soon enough. All right. Sarah, if you'd like, I'll just let you get right into saying hi to everybody, okay?
Okay, thank you. So as Gary said, I am Sarah Hoffman with the Lake George Land Conservancy, Communications and Outreach Manager, which gives me the opportunity to do talks like this. I'm always happy to do some outreach and talk about our mission and projects that are going on in our events. Hike-a-thon is something that is near and dear to me, so I'm happy to be able to talk about that. And so I am just going to get right into, I have some slides prepared, so I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get started. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So the Lake George Land Conservancy, as you said, we are a nonprofit land trust. We are based out of Bolton Landing, New York, and our mission is focused on the Lake George watershed. And our tagline, to simplify what we do, we protect the land that protects the lake. And I will get into more of how exactly that works. Just to show how broad and specific our mission is, our number one priority is protecting the water quality of Lake George, but we also do make sure to look at the other resources that are valued throughout the watershed, the natural, scenic, historic, and recreational resources that make this area so important. Obviously, tourism is a great driver in this area, and without a clean and beautiful lake, we wouldn't have that to help with our economy. We wouldn't have people wanting to live here, visit, all around. So it's all very dependent on making sure our water stays clean, our land stay healthy, and all of these other aspects, as you well know, that's so much history and other resources in the area that we want to also protect. We were created in 1988, and since then we've had a lot of different partners helping us to protect land. In total, 11,557 acres, all throughout the watershed. And with this map, what you can see is there's this yellow line that encircles the lake. That is the watershed line. So anything between the line and the lake is the Lake George watershed. All the water that hits that land ultimately ends up in the lake. So all of the land there is really important when you're talking about protecting the water quality, because it all has an impact on the lake itself. We have over 30 parks and preserves that are open to the public, some with parking lots and trailheads that are available to anyone year-round, dawn to dusk. Others have limited access, so not fully open to the public year-round, but all of them could be accessible. Of those that do have established trail systems, there are more than 40 miles of hiking trails that are open to the public through, again, our own properties, but also with our partners. So lands that we've transferred to New York State and still have a management agreement with, or with some towns like the town of Bolton or town of Lake George. And actually, I did want to just point out real quickly, it goes up, the stars on the map. I do have some exciting news. Your audience is actually going to get the first, to hear the first announcement of two exciting properties that we are working on. One is in the town of Bolton. So the star, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but down in Bolton is part of the Bolton Hub project, and the other up in Hewlett's Landing are totally new. And I will talk a little bit about those. One of the ways that I like to explain what we do and the importance of why protecting the land protects the lake, in its most simple term, is what happens upstream doesn't stay upstream. It's a little cheeky, but I think it works. You know, when the water comes down in a rain event, a storm event, whether it's a natural property or if there's construction, a road, a driveway, one picture there is a hiking trail, but it doesn't have the right erosion controls in there. What happens is that erosion wipes the soils, nutrients, pollutants, all downstream and ultimately into Lake George. And then you end up with that bottom picture, which is showing a delta, which if you are a landowner or a shore owner and you have to deal with docks, or if you have a boat, then you are probably well aware of where the deltas are, what to avoid. And those are caused by the upstream erosion. So what we do is we want to protect that upstream area as much as possible to prevent the problems downstream. Our greatest partner is the land itself. It is the most efficient, effective tool we have to protecting the water quality between the streams, corridors, the ponds, the wetlands, the forests themselves with their deep root structure, holding soil in place. All of these natural elements work really effectively to clean the water downstream. The ponds and wetlands hold stormwater in place so that it doesn't rush down a stream, which would bring debris and soil and rocks down with it. The ponds and wetlands also absorb pollutants. As the water slowly sinks in, it soaks up some of that excess nutrients and things that can cause problems for fish and other things downstream. The forests, again, have that root structure that can hold that soil in place. A healthy stream also has if it's a healthy stream, it'll have a lot of vegetation around the edges of the corridor, which will help prevent erosion. And of course, all of this then leads to a healthy ecosystem as a whole. You have a diverse wildlife population, lots of different kinds of hopefully native plants that are providing food and shelter for that wildlife, and for all the humans that enjoy using these properties as well. We also say that our community is a huge partner. We cannot do what we do without the support of our communities. And we know that one of our greatest benefits to the community are our hiking trails and providing public access. Again, going back to tourism, or even just anybody who lives in the area and enjoys being here, you know that being able to get out on the lands and having that access is really important. For those who are coming to visit or otherwise, being able to be in the forest, see that view from a summit, or even getting down along the shoreline if you're not a landowner, it's important to be able to provide those access points to the community, not only, again, for those visiting or living, but for the hospitality business owners. They can provide this as a resource to their guests. So as a whole, it strengthens our entire communities, makes them more desirable for people to come and visit and enjoy, and hopefully instills that lifelong appreciation for our natural world and protecting it. This is just a picture of one of our pocket guides that we provide. I think we've had them now for 6 years or so. And these are really nice, simple, small, it says a pocket guide that we provide not only at our kiosks, but also to any hospitality or any business that is interested in having them for their for guests or customers or their own families. They're really nice resource just to know where they can go, public trails that are available, other than not just looking at the state trails. The Bolton Hub is a great example of our community conservation efforts. This is something that started a few years ago as a partnership between us, the town of Bolton, and the Bolton Landing Chamber of Commerce. Again, this is looking at how do we protect land, therefore protecting the water quality of Lake George, while also providing that recreational resource and boosting our local economies to build and strengthen our communities. And Bolton was a great starting point. We already had a number of public trails available between LGLC lands and DEC, the state properties. And we had a really motivated and helpful partner in the town in working with us to protect more land, and the Chamber of Commerce, and understanding and recognizing the benefit of having the recreation as part of a draw to bring people into town and then downtown to the businesses. So we established a Bolton, it's actually the Bolton Recreational Hub. We have a strategy that was created by Chase & Companies that looked at what already exists, what could we add to the protected properties and the trail systems to make it even greater, and really looking kind of long term at what it could be as this more strengthened hub. And I'm excited to show you, we do have a new addition to the Bolton Hub. This is what I'm showing here. What's new is Bradley's Lookout. We have not yet purchased this, but we have a contract signed, and we are very excited to be moving forward with this in the town of Bolton as well. It will add to the already very popular Pinnacle Preserve. As you can see just above it, the trail system there connects to Cat and Thomas, which is the New York State property that we first acquired in 2003 and then sold to New York State, also a very popular hiking destination. So adding Bradley's Point will allow, or excuse me, Bradley's Lookout will allow for better routing of the trail to be as sustainable as possible for the heavy use that it gets, and also provide additional access points so that we are reducing the impact on neighbors, and the road, frankly, just gets a lot of overuse. People are parking along the road, causing some safety issues. So this will reduce some of those concerns. we are working with the town, similar that we did with the Pinnacle, and also Twin Pines, which you can see is farther west near Trout Lake. Those properties are all, we've protected them and then are selling them to the town, encumbered by a conservation easement, which means that we will continue to monitor these properties and make sure that they are they stay healthy and that they are going to be following regular conservation requirements, that they will remain protected forever, but under the town's ownership. So again, we have a signed contract for this. We are hoping to close this in the coming months, and over the next probably year, be working on the new trail system and other features, educational materials, and other things that will go along with it. Hewlett's Landing was the other spot on that map with the star, and I'm highlighting it because we do have a new property there as well. This is a focus area for us because, as you can see on this map, that orange yellow line, again, it's that watershed line, it's very close to the shore. And this area has very steep slopes that are sensitive to erosion, and protecting these areas will have a significant impact on the water quality just by preventing any potential construction that would cause any erosion downstream. And you can also see the streams themselves that are tributaries into Lake George. Those are what we are focusing on, not only the steep slopes, but also those tributaries, because again, what happens upstream doesn't stay upstream. So we are protecting that corridor that leads into the lake. And what we have just yesterday closed on the protection of this Ferry Brook corridor. I'm calling this 25-acre piece. So it has been purchased as of yesterday. And again, adding to this great Hewlett's Landing Conservation Initiative, focusing on the water quality and those steep slopes. So once we purchase property, there's a lot more to it. We don't just stick it under a globe and say it's done. But there's a lot of stewardship that happens year round. Some of the properties, as I said, do have these trails. So there's the process of marking out and creating those trails, putting up signage. We've been increasing our educational materials along the trails as well, so that whenever you go out, you can learn about the lands that you're seeing and the wildlife. We also do maintenance projects, like the picture in the top center is someone installing kind of a beaver deceiver device. It is a tube that goes into a beaver pond, and the other end of the tube is sunk underwater. The beavers don't notice that it's there, but what it does is it allows water to flow through the dam, thereby preventing overflow and excess work by the beavers to make the dam larger and larger and larger. They've been shown to be very successful in preventing problems downstream from beaver dams. And we recognize the importance of our beavers and providing these beaver ponds as, again, these retention ponds that allow for filtration and cleaning of our water. So we want to do as much as we can to make sure all of our neighbors are happy and there's no potential issues that come down the road. So all of these are part of management plans that we have for our properties. And of course, we do a lot of outreach trying to get our message out, such as I'm doing right now. We also have guided hikes, trainings for volunteers. We do a lot of invasive species management for terrestrial invasives, such as the hemlock woolly delgid, as well as other plant invasives. We try out some new things like yoga at the top of our Pilot Knob Preserve. We've worked with Youth Commission out of Lake George, done partnerships with Soil and Water Conservation District and LGA and other organizations around the lake. This year, of course, things have changed. We have had to switch gears a little bit. Normally, we would have up to 50 programs a year, those including all the things I just said, guided hikes, programs, talks during the summer, trainings. And this summer, with everything happening, as with everybody, we have had to convert into virtual or just cancel, unfortunately. We certainly hope to get back to our usual uh, scope of outreach next year, as I'm sure everyone else does as well. One of the things that we've really been pushing, and this is along with New York State DEC and other hiking organizations, is bringing that social distancing message not only around town or in stores, but also on the trails. We did have to make the difficult decision to close our Pilot Knob Preserve in April. That was also, I think, a day apart from when the town of Bolton decided to close the Pinnacle, and all for the same reasons. These are two very popular preserves that were getting overrun by people looking for something to do when early on, when everyone was staying away from shopping and all these other busy places. And we understand that people look for a trail to go to. And again, these were very popular and well-loved trails. And unfortunately, they just got a little too loved to the point of being unsafe for both the hikers, but also parking along the road and causing unsafe conditions along the road, and also for our trails getting overuse. So again, this is a pretty great simple flyer that DEC used, that we have been using also to share the message of staying local. There are a lot of great trails in a lot of different communities. It's a great time to find those. You don't need to drive 30-40 minutes to get to a hiking trail. There are lots of other options that maybe you can explore. Be safe, staying with your immediate family or your pod, and avoiding crowds. If a hiking trail, if you get to a trailhead and it's really crowded, to turn around and go somewhere else. My family did that the other day. It's disappointing, but like I said, there are a lot of different options. So finding the right ones that are not crowded, limiting your exposure while on the trails, even though you're outside. Some of these can be very crowded, and we want to do our part in promoting responsible and safe recreation. So one of our events that, again, following along these recommendations, as I was just saying, unfortunately, we had to adapt to the times, is our Hike-a-thon. We just had it. It was July 5th. And rather than cancel, we did do a virtual style. But just as a kind of a background for anyone who is not familiar with our Hike-a-thon, it happens on one day, July 5th, every year. This was our 8th year, so we started in 2013. It was an event that we had started to promote our 25th anniversary, and it was intended to be a one-time only event. But we got such great feedback that we decided to continue, and I'm really glad that we did. Again, now we're in our 8th, we just did our 8th Hike-a-thon, and we've grown from, initially, I think the first year we had about 400 people. This year, had the event gone the way we planned it to, we would have been up around 700. So it just continues to grow. What happens is we have hikes and now paddles that are scheduled. People can sign up for which one they want to do. They all have their own time, and we have volunteers leading those, so that we really wanted to encourage as many people as possible to come out and enjoy these trails. Somebody who might be nervous about going out for the first time, this is an opportunity to join a group, feel safe, feel welcome, and really get a positive experience that will hopefully lead to more hiking and outdoor activity. So each year we give away shirts, and we've gone through the rainbow now. It's kind of partly for fun, partly for me to be able to keep track of year after year. Although now this year we had white shirts, and we've had some families that have participated year after year, and these are collectibles, and we look forward to seeing what happens the next year. So I just put all these pictures up there for fun, just to show all the different colors and the groups at the summits. And in the yellow, the third year, where everyone's wearing yellow, you can see they're waving to a helicopter. This is what makes our event unique. We have Bruce Mallory, who is a local helicopter pilot, and Carl Heilman, a photographer, every year, and along with a staff person, it's kind of changed year after year. Who else is in the, it's a 4-seater helicopter, flies around the lake, and they take pictures of each group at the summit. So it's a choreographed event. Each group is timed to get to their specific location at a very specific point so that the helicopter meets them. And as I said, this is what really makes our event unique. This is an exciting moment when the helicopter comes and everyone waves. And it also brings everyone together, whether you're hiking in Lake George Village or up in Ticonderoga, east side, west side. It's all part of one big event. We're all part of one big lake. So having the helicopter fly around, almost, tying everyone together, it really gives a great feeling to it. And that was really missed this year. As I said, we made this year's event virtual. We felt it was the best thing to do. And from the responses I've received, most people agreed. They were thankful that we went this way. And by virtual, it's not hiking virtually. It was, we encourage people to go out and hike locally, using those recommendations that we have pushed and that New York State has pushed. Hike locally, hike where it's not crowded, stay safe from potential exposure. And so it's been interesting to see the pictures that people have been sending, a lot around Lake George, but we also had some, for example, right here in the middle there down in Palm Beach, Florida. We also had another picture down here in the corner in Vermont, and the picture up in the top right. The Rourke family, they were all over the place. So in Lake George, and this is their son in Mumbai, India. So I can officially say that the Hike-a-thon went global this year, which is pretty cool, to put a positive spin on something that would otherwise be kind of a bummer. Everyone said that they missed the camaraderie, the community feel, the helicopter, but they also recognized that more people could participate. So family members who weren't in the area or who wouldn't normally be, and therefore wouldn't otherwise be able to participate, were able, because we had expanded it to anybody, anywhere. So that was pretty cool. As I said, a good spin on what was otherwise a bummer of a change of events. So those are things that we've done as we've gone through this time, as I'm sure all nonprofits and other businesses have had to adapt. But, I think we're doing pretty well with it anyway. And just as a last kind of comment, the land doesn't pause. So as we are all doing our thing to stay safe, what is great about land protection is that once a property is protected, conserved by us, it is forever protected. And whether we're using it, hiking on it or not, it is still there doing its job, keeping Lake George clean, regardless of what's happening in our human world. So I think we can all be reassured with that, knowing that Lake George will be here in all its beauty for whenever you can come back, whenever it is safe to do so. And I think that is our strongest message for people. So we certainly miss seeing everyone up in Bolton, in our office and out on the trails, and we miss our volunteers and everyone coming to our events, but we'll get back to it. And we certainly have a lot of other things keeping us busy. So that is it. I just put up my contact information if anyone is interested in learning more about what we're doing. or want to follow us, see some more pictures, I got lots of great pictures from Hike-a-thon, and we try to post about what our stewardship staff is doing and projects that are happening. You could follow us on Facebook and Instagram or join our email list. And our website is just lglc.org. And we also have an outdoor kiosk. So our office is closed to the public and will remain so for the time being, but we do have a kiosk outside that has brochures and some other information. So you can always stop by and pick up some paper materials if you're in Bolton and want to find a new hiking spot. So
Terrific. Thank you, Sarah. That was great. Now I have to ask you, and it's great, the whole mission of actually keeping areas preserved for generations to come. And I keep thinking back to that. It used to be the province of wealthy landowners around the lake. And many of them were, connected in Saratoga Springs as well as New York City, owned land. I think of Edwin Morse Shepherd and a number of people on what's called Millionaires Row up the west side of the lake. And without them, the average citizen would not have access to the lake and a lot of the beauty. And it's kind of like the Lake George Land Conservancy is filling in because those people don't exist anymore. And developers tend to want to own everything that's worth owning and leaving very little public access. So it's a great role the LGLC plays there. I think that's terrific.
Thank you. Yeah.
What was the impetus? You started. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we do have, I didn't say specifically, we do have 2 properties that actually have waterfront. As you're saying, it's hard to find that spot if you're not a landowner. Up in Hague, there's Peggy's Point, which is a great little park that goes down to the water's edge. And also our last great shoreline preserve in Putnam would normally, in a typical year, we have a dock so that if somebody is out on their boat, they could actually come by boat, dock, and go hiking. So it's, again, a unique way to use the lands and enjoy it when you don't have to own the property itself.
Yeah.
I will add that this year we do not have the dock in. Just with just one of the decisions we've made with the changes this year.
You know, the it's interesting too, which I think we're getting a little breakup on the stream, so I'm going to keep going as long as I can. I have a couple other questions if everything holds up bandwidth wise. You know, a hike-a-thon being changed, is that a permanent change you can see going global and going partially virtual from now on? I mean, you'd still want to get back to in-person groups together, enjoying the physicality of being together in a group. But when you think about it, it's getting larger and larger. It might be some time before you can actually get that many people back on a trail again. And the virtual element, I can picture continuing to be a more popular way to get the message out.
It's definitely something that we will talk about. I think I did send out a survey and I will continue to get feedback from people. And I think it was seen as a real positive. And why not, right? If our goal is to not only get people to our properties and enjoy Lake George, but to expand that experience and appreciation for just any protected land that we have and getting outside, I think if we can use the Hike-a-thon as a tool to do that, I don't see a problem with getting larger like that. But we'll certainly, we'll talk about logistics and how to keep moving forward with that.
I'm sure, logistically, you did a lot of work to begin with, just getting everyone there, coordinating it so the helicopters could get shots. And that was a remarkable feat. I can imagine when planning that, people were saying, no way, You can't do that. And that's just seems like a monumental task. But I wonder, as the event grows in real life, what about trail wear? In other words, you talk about every year there are more people involved, but at one point do you say, okay, we might actually be damaging some of these trails?
Sure. And from even year one of the things that we do is each property has a limit, has its capacity for not only hikers, just because depending on the trail itself, some just have a natural footbed that is capable of handling that heavier foot traffic. But maybe they have a small parking lot,
Yeah.
or vice versa. So all of our properties have been, the Hike-a-thon registration has a limit for each property based on those parameters. So there is a point where the Hike-a-thon cannot grow unless we start adding more, New York State trails or other partner trails. Our goal through now, all of the properties that are involved in the Hike-a-thon have some history with the LGLC. So even if there is a state trail or a Northwest Bay paddle or Jade Pond paddle, it's because the LGLC's history had something to do with its conservation. We were instrumental in protecting public access to Jade Pond when that property was on the market. So that could have been closed off to the public had we not got in there. So that's why that paddle is included, for example. So as we protect more property and to expand our own hiking opportunities, we can grow the Hike-a-thon through that way. But yes, always be mindful of the impact that having a large group would have on its trails and on the neighborhood, in the area. We don't want to cause issues for the neighbors and as well as for the ecosystem.
Do you do any outreach to property owners around Lake George, or is it primarily preserving public lands and making it accessible?
No, we do a lot of communication with private landowners. Our executive director, our board, and other staff make phone calls. We have meetings, have lunch, have coffee. We develop a relationship. Even our stewardship staff, he has to go out and monitor conservation easements, and it really is all about relationships. So we know that nobody's going to want to work with us if they don't trust us, if they don't think that we are working with integrity and on their best interest. So developing the relationships with landowners is really important, and it is absolutely a big part of what we do in moving forward, especially in areas like the Bolton Hub, the Hewlett's Landing area. We have had regular communication with certain landowners where they'll invite neighbors over so that we can talk and explain what we're thinking and really get them to be part of the process.
Right. Well, I think that's all I've got. We didn't get any chat questions, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
But we got a number of viewers, and I want to thank you so much again, Sarah, for being our first and our guinea pig on this first ever LGHA Live Online lecture series. We're going to do this again. We'd like to have you back sometime too, but can you tell people where they can see, I guess you're doing your own presentations as well for the Land Conservancy online, right?
We are. So yeah, I guess we're all in the same boat. We just had our first, what we have is the Living Land series. And we've had the summer Wednesday evening talks for a number of years. And so we just had our first one yesterday with Dr. Nina Schock talking about Adirondack loons. And we will continue those next week We are talking about hemlocks and hemlock woolly adelgid. And then we'll jump to August. We'll begin again with a couple of programs. I never remember, so I had to bring my cheat sheet. The wrong one. We're going to be talking about the hub. We have a history talk, and put me on the spot. I forgot the other one, but we have the lineup.
Well,
and it's great.
Tell people where they can find it.
You can go to our website, lglc.org, and go to our events tab and Living Lands series. And all of our programs are going to be pre-recorded. And at 5:30 on those Wednesdays, we will post the link so that people can watch it. And most of the presenters have said that they will be available during that time to answer questions. That's
great.
But otherwise, all the videos can be watched at any later time as well.
Okay. Super. Well, thanks. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Good luck with those. We'll be keeping an eye on those. Thanks so much again for joining us. And we'll see you folks again next Thursday. Our second in the series will be a local filmmaker who's now living in Brooklyn. She'll be joining us from Brooklyn, Hannah DeGarmo. You can read up about her in our events on our Facebook page and on our website. You'll see both. And if you are attending, please send some questions into the chat so we have interactivity. Sarah mentioned that they're pre-recording a lot of theirs. Well, we're flying blind here. We're actually doing these live. So you might enjoy watching the wheels come off the wagon, or it might go great. So stay tuned. Thanks very much, Sarah. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.